Correct.
Yeah, zero.
So this is an example where we're obtaining services without having to pay for
City overheads.
city overhead then. And it seemed to be an efficient way of us obtaining services.
I think so.
Okay. Well, it might be a model for us to continue to look at as the months and years go by and we have to find cost-effective ways of providing services. I know we do the same with our transit director, who's on a personal services contract. So it's good to note that we have had at least some experience doing this type of thing.
We also do it, we just
Yes,
passed
for
it with
the-
the cemetery.
We've been doing it with Ken for about, 9 or 10 years, I believe. Now.
Long time.
It's been a long time. Ryan, I believe, does a very good job working. I called down to the problem, trying to get access, and it was fixed in probably half an hour or so. So I appreciate that quick response.
I've got a question on the, with the current ceiling, have we bumped up against that, or have we had instances where we have not been able to get service for something because they were at the maximum that we could spend with them?
Well, I'm actually unaware of
Okay.
that. I have not seen any break in service. Clear up until the end of the fiscal year, they were in here doing stuff. So my assumption is no.
Okay.
If you look at the number of wires down in the room at the police station, it's spaghetti down there. It's scary. I was in there a while back, and there's wires hanging all over the place. A lot of blue wires in there, and they all seem to know that they will be hooked up sooner or later into that server. So.
I would agree with that assessment. That caught my eye. I took a tour a couple weeks back, and that was one thing that really floored me, is how many wires there were.
Additional question, is the ceiling, has that been the same since 2006?
The ceiling was, no. Originally, there was no ceiling on it.
Okay.
And so I think it was the last, in 2008, the ceiling has been the same, the 55,000.
Okay.
And so this is, less than the 25% budge in that ceiling when the ceiling was created. As a point of interest, the amounts per hour that they've charged for the services were actually, in some cases, a little reduced from where they were originally, which is kind of interesting. I was looking at some of their earlier contracts, and some of them were, certain type of services had a window, some charging between, say, $75 and $90 an hour. Well, somewhere along the line, either 2008 or this one, some of them actually got a little bit more specific and actually went down. So it was maybe like by $5 an hour. Kind of interesting that the services haven't really gone up, maybe due to the economy.
Yeah, so they haven't come up to the ceiling at all, or we've not gone over, and do we know, I think I jotted off a quick email today just to find out how much was the actual spend for the contract services here for last year?
End of June, it was $80,500.
Okay.
But that was the line item. There is in the budget a technical services fund, and under technical services, the line item was $80,500. But looking at the budget to actual, we were slightly under that. I mean, very slightly, $200. It was $80,300. But I have to see how that's broke down, because according to this, their ceiling was less than $80,500 last year. So, anyway.
75.
It may have not all gone to direct wages or cost. It might have been other costs in there too, maybe some hardware or something.
It
like
may
that.
be, and I don't know, I haven't looked at the line item, but it could be our website or something, I don't know.
Okay.
But let me take a look at that.
My other question too is, and we just did this with our accounting, the auditing firm that we use, is it time to maybe look at opening it up for a different, as a bid option? I don't know what the protocol on that is. Is there a time that we look at it? Is this the time that we I don't know, open it up for a bid to see if somebody wants to be able to do it as well or better for less?
That is an option, and always could be an option. I mean, part of our, this is in a sense a boilerplate amount of terms that we use for a lot of our personal services contracts. And they do allow for, if the service dips below what we desire, there is that avenue to even, in the contract. But The other thing is it's year by year, and so we can always go back and revisit. There's provisions in the public contracting code that says you can amend as long as you don't get past 25% of the original contract.
Right. Yeah.
And so it allows us to amend without having to go out to bid. But if you wanted to go out to bid, or if the council,
It was just a question
Okay.
more of, I mean, the service they've been providing, as the mayor said, they've been spot on and they've been great. And I was just, again, we're using the model of just how long is too long, and do we, sometimes shaking it up a little bit gets us a little better bang for our buck.
true.
That's why I bring that up. I didn't know if this was the time to do that because we're talking about it, or if it was.
There will be a need to go out to bid if they get above a certain amount.
Okay.
And 75,000 is one number that you then have to take on a formal bid process.
Okay.
Or we have to open things back up if they get beyond the 25% of the original contract. And so,
Okay.
those might be moments in the near future.
Then we do have also in the agreement, it says either party upon 30 days written notice to the other delivered by certified mail can be the contract can be terminated. So if we do decide later this fall or toward the end of the year or whatever, we can at least put a notice out to say that we're going to look at other people.
Sure.
And we have an extra, 6 months to come up with their, because we'll be starting today, so we'd have 30 days back from now that we'd have to give them notice that we're going to change if we're going to do that. So that's something staff can look into.
And Brian, my experience is that in public contracting, the marketplace kind of regulates this itself, that if there are people out there who are willing to do this, they let us know.
Yeah.
So I'm counting on city staff to keep us apprised if we do hear vendors that
Okay.
say that this is something that would be considered competitive, but also as a matter, I think you're right, just as a matter of transparency, that it's good for us to put our contracts out every few years.
That's great.
Just to comment on that, I think if you want to look into that in the future, sometime later this year or next year, I don't have a problem with that, but I would not like to see this upset at this time because of the police station cutover. It's just the wrong time to put any uncertainty into it. The other thing I've noticed in the scope of services, they're committing to one technician for an average of 36 to 40 hours per week. And if we had a tech on board, full-time tech, we wouldn't be getting them for that price, including benefits. It wouldn't happen. I mean, you would be looking at 50% more than this bid. So I think we have a good thing going as long as we're happy with the service. And from everything I've heard since I've been on the council, the city has been. So I'd like to see it continue. At least.
For a number of years, we had the same auditing firm. We put out and asked for an RFP and had some other company come in with a lesser amount. It wasn't that we were then satisfied with the other one, we just thought we should. So, and the same thing here, if it, just because they're doing a good job, we can put out an RFP, and if they are the successful one, then they wouldn't get it. So, but I think I agree there is that we should hold off till next year, but work it out ahead of time before the end of the contract.
There's some more discussion on that before we do that. So.
Mr. Mayor. The city attorney and I also had an email conversation today about the need to have Kentech employees sign confidentiality agreements because our servers do have privileged and HR information on them. You want to comment on that?
I could easily. And I think that's a wonderful explanation or insightful comment. I was thinking about it, and this itself is a contract with the Kentech company, and what I think would serve us best is to have the individuals, because it doesn't make sense to have Kentech then be some sort of hybrid entity that makes sure that each person behaves in a Kentech way. I think it makes more sense if they're going to be doing services here that they adhere to their own individual. So I think I'll look into making sure and drafting something that if they're coming in here and touching the computers and potentially touching upon confidential information, that they keep those confidences.
In the private sector, we do have to sign confidentiality on a per-person basis, not company-wide, as I'm sure Columbia does as well. So, yeah, just wanted to encourage
I think that model is
that.
one that we would be smart, well advised to pursue.
Right.
Yeah.
Good catch, Tim.
Thank you,
Great
Tim.
job.
Mr. Mayor, if it's the pleasure of the council, I'd like to move ordinance 1363, an ordinance authorizing the city of Canby to enter into an amended contract with Kin Technology Incorporated to continue to provide computer technical services for the city and declaring an emergency.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Dale, second by Counselor Hensley, to adopt ordinance number 1363, an ordinance authorizing the city of Canby to enter into an amended contract with Kin Technology Incorporated to continue to provide computer technical services for the city and declaring an emergency on first reading, second reading, August 15th, 2012. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 6-0. Okay, those. Okay, new business?
Nothing there.
Okay. How about city administrator staff reports?
Nothing there.
Okay. We also have one more time for citizen input. If there's anybody that would like to come up and make any comments at the end of the meeting here, come on up. If not, we'll go on to action review.
You have approved 3 noise variances to the Wild Horse Saloon on August 11th, 17th, and 18th. You've adopted ordinance 1361, 1362, and you've approved ordinance 1363 to come up for second reading on August 15th.
Joe, was there executive session?
Before we adjourn, may I say something? I just want to remind everyone here, as well as the TV audience, that this is First Friday coming up. So please come downtown, hang out. First Avenue is open for business. Come down, drink some wine, eat some food, do some shopping. See cash mobs going on, cruise-ins going on. What else is going on? There's a walking event with
Carly.
fundraiser for Carly. Thank you. And
I forgot to remind you, the reopening or dedication of Fourth Avenue in front of the fairgrounds is the 7th at 10:30 a.m. So a lot of speechifying by electeds.
that was all I had there.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Add on.
Good add-on.
I move that we adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Been moved by Counselor Hodgson, seconded by Counselor Daniels to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay. That's for Jason.
In honor of Jason.
We're adjourned no matter what.
You're supposed to shout it.
Thank you, Canby.
Today was a real, it's clear up in the clubhouse, it smelled lately, just down there.
You guys talked about the
But I smelled it up in the clubhouse.
waste facility.